Hey my friend, it's Duc Tran, founder of Developers Academy and creator of Socialize Your Apps program, where I teach you how to build apps like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and Snapchat and Nike retail store. In this video, I would love to share with you how to build this amazing user interface for the Nike retail store. So here is what the app looks like. We have a store, an e-commerce store of items. In here, because it is Nike, so we sell shoes and shirts and all of those sports stuff, right? So we have a feed, a news feed, or just a table view of stuff that we sell. Here we have just 4 simple items, and when we click into one of the item, we will see the full detail of the product. So for this product, we have what? We have here the detail screen, and this images, right? We can scroll left and right to see different kinds of different images in the detail, and we have some information about the image. We have the product detail. We can click into the buy button here so that we can add that product to cart, and also below that is some other suggestions of the similar product. So if you go onto apple.com or amazon.com, those retail store apps, they also recommend you, right, when you purchase something or you are looking to something, they always recommend you some other products so that you can sell, you can purchase them. So that is what we want to do here. And by the way, this app is exactly like the app called Nike Plus. It's an app by Nike Incorporation. I am not their affiliate or anything. It's just beautiful and it's very intuitive and simple app. So I would love to share with you how to build this thing. So let's get into work. Now, when we click into this thing, right? When we click into the shop button here, or when we check out, we'll see our shopping bag or our checkout page, right? And we see all the items that we add to the bag. We can remove the item. We can see the subtotal, the estimated shipping and handling, the tax amount, and the total amount. We select the checkout button. We see the checkout. We can enter, the user can enter their billing information, enter their card number, credit card number, expiration date, security code, all of those stuff about e-commerce, if you know that. And when we click the submit order, the order will be submitted to our backend, meaning that Firebase, right? We have a backend called Firebase in which socialize your apps. I teach you everything about Firebase, everything about building apps that store user information, that authenticate users, that log in, sign up with Facebook, Instagram, those kind of stuff, and store user data, store your app data, sharing posts, sharing videos, sharing messages, and sharing these informations. And in this app also, when we submit the order, it will go directly to Stripe, which is our money processing service, right? So Stripe is one of the world's best and most popular money service processing service for e-commerce, for any kind of app. It is used by so many services, so we will use that thing too. It is free to use. It's very, very low cost. Incredible. So when we click submit order, it goes into Stripe, goes into our backend. It sends users emails and confirmation, all of those good stuff. So in this training, I would love to share with you how we do the detail screen, and more specifically because a lot of you ask me how to do this sliding effect, right? With this sliding effect of what we call the container view or the header of the tail view. How can we do that? And later on, when we have the chance, we will talk about this collection view, right? So in this video, let's focus on the user interface and also this sliding image, incredibly cool, that we can slide left and right and this like that. So step number 1, do me a favor to go ahead, download your starter project. You can click the link right below this video, download your starter project, and we'll get started. Inside your starter project, what we have for you is a project, an Xcode project that is already set up for you, right? Because we will focus on that PageViewController, that image slider that you see all around the App Store, or you see inside the App Store itself, you see in Instagram, in Facebook, especially Instagram now, right? Instagram has the new feature of multiple images, multiple videos. You can use that thing too. So inside here, this is what the starter project when we run it, right? The starter project, we have the feed already, we have the shopping bag already created. Now all we have to do left is, because we want to focus on that feature alone. So all of these things is already created for you. And if you love to have a look at the code, then just look at the code, then you understand that, right? So the feature I want to walk you through is the detail, the header of our page, detail page. How can we do that? Let's get into work. So this is the start project. I will not walk you through the whole start project because it seems a lot, but as we walk through, there will be just now. Remember that we are just considering about that page view controller, right? That page view controller that we can slide left and right. So as I walk you through that, you'll see the project in very, very clear example, very, very clear way. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into this. The storyboard, what does it have? As a tab bar controller, pretty straightforward. It's multiple navigation controllers. For the feed, we have this news feed, right? I hope they can see that. The news feed, the feed of products. We can select the product. Inside the product, this is the detail screen. We call it the shoe detail view controller because we sell shoes, basically, right? If you are having read the book called Shoe Dog by the founder of Nike, please read that. It's amazing, especially for you guys, developers and entrepreneurs who love this kind of just endeavor. It's amazing. So here we go. Let's do this. I'm going to drag out. What we want to do is, because look at, I have the complete project over here. Okay, here we go, the complete project. So now this thing, below that is a table view controller, right? What we want to do is we want to make this thing reusable, number one. Number two is we can put in anywhere we want. That's reusable. So we'll make this thing a header view of the table view controller. So let's drag out a UI view over here. I'm going to have a UI view. Drag this UI view to the screen and above our UI table view controller like that. And still select that view, still select this view, and then I will change the dimension, the ratio of this image to 335, that's good. And the height is 375 too, because we want to make a white background. We want to make a square of that thing, right? It depends on your user interface, but here we want to use that. Next up, how can we have this thing? Now this seems like, if you don't know about this kind of feature, it can be implemented into several ways. Number one is we can insert a UI scroll view into this. Number two, guys, pay attention. I'm walking you through the kind of like the pre-implementation process, right? When I go and implement this app, what I'm thinking is this way, right? So there are several ways that I can implement this thing. Number one is I can implement this thing with a scroll view. A scroll view is just simply a big, kind of like a big giant view, and it has the seeable, or what is the visible view that you see on the screen, and you can drag around. That's the thing you see on the say the photo app. When you see the photo app, you can zoom in the image and you can scroll around the image. That's the scroll view, right? Or the tail view itself is a scroll view. That's why you can scroll up and right. Okay. Now the problem with scroll view is that it's when we implement that thing, it's quite easy to implement, but the problem with that, because it is one single view, and what we basically do is that we lay out all of these images. What we do have here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 images. We lay out 6 different images inside the scroll view, and whenever we want to move up and right like this, we just basically change the properties of the scroll view so that these images will be visible. The problem with that approach is the scroll, when we lay out all of those images inside the scroll view, it is very expensive in terms of downloading the data. If you have like hundreds of images, that is expensive. The second approach is we can use collection view. Now collection view usually is for the purpose of like scroll left and right, for the purpose of scroll up and down. It's kind of like overkill, right? The third approach is, I know I'm going a little bit far, but I just want to spend this time together to walk you through the thinking process. I hope that you enjoy this process, because a lot of you ask me about what do you think when you implement the apps, right? So the third process, the third approach that we will approach this thing is we'll use a thing called UIPageViewController. UIPageViewController. What it means is that it is the thing you see in App Store. It is the thing you see in the iBooks app, that you have the pages for the books, right? So what it means is that we have this thing, a controller, and you can scroll left and right, right? Just like that. It is built for this approach. It is built for this feature. That's why we have this thing. We use UIPageViewController. Now, when we have a page view controller, let's go into the main storyboard here. We can search for page like this, and you'll see there's a page view controller like that, right? It says present sequences of view controllers as pages. That's what we want. Now, the problem is though, it is a view controller. It is a view controller. It means that we cannot put that view controller inside our view controller. It's the rule, right? A view controller, basically in storyboard, at least in storyboard, you cannot put that thing inside this, right? When you drag this thing out like this, it doesn't happen that way. Well, the problem is now, how can we put this page view controller inside this header view? There comes another solution. The solution is we use something called container view. Container view. A container view is simply a view that allows us to put in a lot more view controllers, or a lot more views. Make sense? A tab bar controller is in fact a container view controller, a container view. A navigation controller is in fact a container view. It means that you can stack into that, or you can put that in the tab bar, a lot more view controllers. So here's what I mean. Let's go into our key, we call it container. Let's search for container like this, and then we'll drag this container view to the screen like this thing, right? And then it will be a little bit too small. So let's auto layout this thing, 0, left, top, bottom, and right. Update the frames like this. Add the constraint for this thing. It says a UI view, but it actually is a container view. Why do I know? Because we drag that thing out, and also when we scroll up like this, it links into, it segues into this thing called a view controller. You see this? It's actually segue into a view controller, so we can use. What it basically means is that we can embed this view controller inside this container view. We can embed this view controller inside this view. Yay! Problem is solved. So now we just have to delete this view controller. We don't need that. But we need a page view controller, right? Drag that thing out, a page view controller. Now all we have to do is control drag from this container view to this page view controller, and then you will see when the view that load, what kind of segue do we want to segue into this thing? Well, we know that we want to segue into this thing, so we can embed this page view controller. So I'm going to embed this thing. You see this? It's called an embed segue. Really neat feature. Okay, it is new to iOS 5 or 6, I believe, and this is a huge game changer for us. It means that in Storyboard we can do a lot of things that previously we have to do a lot of coding, and even in coding it's hard to do this thing. Okay, so now for this page view controller, the left The only one thing left is we have to do a view controller because we only have one single image inside this thing. This thing right here is going to be our view controller. And this view controller only contains what? A UI image. So UI image right here. Let's auto layout this thing and check constraint margin 0, 0, 0, 0. Item constraint like that. I don't want this, so let's do it like this. Clear the constraint. Let's do that again. 0, 0, 0. Add the constraint. Boom! Everything is set up. So now let's have this image view to be something like T1. Yeah, T1 like this. And aspect fill, aspect fit like this. Okay, let's make that aspect fit. And then what we want to do is we connect this view controller to be inside the page view controller, right? Now what we want to do is we will do that in code. So let me walk you through how to do that in code, okay? So here we go, let's go into, actually let me set this thing into aspect fill, like that. It doesn't really matter, later on when we squeeze that into a square, it will be good. So that's step number 2, how you create this thing. We design the table header view, right? Next up, let's create a subclass for our page view controller. This subclass is going to be controlling our page view controller in the storyboard. So let's do this. Before we do, I want to create just a class for this simple view controller, right? This simple view controller has only one single image view. Let's create that thing. So inside the details tab over here, I'm going to right click and create a new file. And for this file, let's call this thing touch class UI view controller, and let's call this thing shoe image view controller. We can call just image view controller, but I don't know. Anything is fine. Okay. Replace. Do we already have that thing? Let's create that. Okay. We replace this thing if we do already have that. Shoe image view controller. So inside this shoe image view controller over here, let's delete this, the receive memory warning, delete the prepare for segue, and all we have over here is an IB outlet wick var for the image view, which is of type UI image view, right? And also it has a var image, UI image like this. So when the view did load, like that, we are going to do self.image view.image equals to image. Then we set the image for our thing, right? So now when we go into our main storyboard, and then let's make sure that we give this thing an identifier. Now I will talk about that later, but we'll give this thing the custom class. So over here, the custom class for this thing is shoe image view controller. Right click into here, we have an image view, drag that into the image view, boom, everything is set up. Next up. Now, let's create that class, right? We said create a subclass for our page view controller. It is a subclass of UI page view controller. So let's right click into the detail, a new file, and then a touch class. This is a UI page view controller. Let's call this thing shoe images, right? Shoe images page view controller. Shoe images page view controller. It contains a lot of images. That's why it's plural. Okay, so I will move this thing up like this, and let's make some space. Okay, can you see? Okay, I will put it over here like that. Awesome. Now, this shoe images page view controller, what does it have? What do it have? Well, I think it is going to display a bunch of images. Then pretty much we just need those images, right? So let's have the images. var images is an array of UI image like this, an optional, because it can be nil, because later on when we implement this thing with Firebase in Socialize Your App, we implement the whole feature of the app, then we're going to add Firebase, we're going to add backend, we're going to add Stripe, then this images is not local into a set like set anymore. It has to go into Firebase, into REST API, download that things, pull it into our app, and then it is going to download and display this thing. So this thing is, let's just put it as an UI image optional array like that. Okay. Then I'm going to have a lazily loaded controller variable called controllers. It's uptyped UIViewController like this. An array of UIViewController. What it's basically mean is that it is an array of controllers. In this case, show-image-view-controller that we are going to display inside our PageViewController, we'll create that equals to this thing. Now, why do we have that? If you are not familiar with lazily loaded variable, what does it mean? It means is that these variables, it can be expensive, right? It is in case that you download things, it is in case that you drawing things, it can be expensive, and we don't need that thing immediately when the view is first loaded. So we use lazily loaded variable. It means that at first, at the initialization process of the class of the PageViewController, it is not created yet. So when this thing is first called, when the controller's variable is first called, it is going to create this thing, whatever the code that we put in here, to create the view controllers array on the fly. And the second time, the third time, then so forth, it will not be create new again. Make sense? Awesome. So let's create this thing, the view controllers. So how can we create this? Now we know that we want to have some instances of the view controller, of this view controller. But how can we create that from storyboard? Let me show you. Okay, so we will select this view controller, and over here on the identity tab, right, the identity tab, we have a storyboard ID, and the storyboard ID here, let's call this show image view controller, like that thing. Okay, I will copy this thing, the storyboard ID, and then go over the show detail tag view controller, like that, right? Show detail tag view controller, and let's create a, not show detail, show images page view controller. I'm going to create a struct called storyboard like this, and we have a static let show image view controller like that. Okay, equals to show image view controller, an identifier for the storyboard like that. You follow? And then we'll select inside the view controllers, let the storyboard equals to UI storyboard with the name of main, because our storyboard here name main.storyboard. Okay, name, the bundle is nil, we don't need that. And then we do var controllers. We initialize this thing into an UI view controller empty array. And then we want to create this UI controller, and we'll put the image into that. So if let images equals to self.images like this, right? For each of the image inside the images. And then let the show image view controller VC equals to storyboard dot instantiate view controller, instantiate view controller with identifier. This identifier is going to allow us to specify which identifier that we give to the view controller in storyboard to create that out of the storyboard. And here we use storyboard dot show image view controller, right? And then we just use controllers that append our show image VC, which is show image VC. This guy, we append into this thing, right? After we got that, we just got to return the controllers. Okay? Return the controllers, just like that. Makes sense, right? Awesome. Now, next up, inside our video load, inside the view delete, I'm going to delete this memory warning. We are going to delete this preview too. Okay, so inside view delete, like this, let's make some space. In view delete, we are going to have, let's count data source equals to self, meaning that the data source of this page view controller is going to be ourself. And then delegate is ourself too. Okay, we'll use that thing. And then we will count something we'll count automatically adjust scroll view inset so that it can adjust the scroll view inset. Okay, to be false, we don't want that. Now, it is going to yell at us because the data source and the delegate needs to be implemented. How can we implement this thing? Well, to implement this thing, we'll have to conform to a protocol called UIPageViewController data source and UIPageViewController delegate. So let's do this. So I'm going to create an extension for shoe images view controller. It is conformed to UIPageViewController data source like this, right? And let's have a mark here called UIPageViewController data source like this. And then inside here, there are two methods that we have to implement. Number one is page view controller before view controller. And you guess what? Number two is page view controller after view controller. Why do we get that two methods? Why do we get those two methods? It turns out that there are two states or three states of the view controllers in the page view controller. What I mean is that there is already one view controller before this thing is displayed. There is one view controller after this thing is displayed. You get that? Okay, so this is like the current view controller inside the page view controller. This thing is the before view controller. This thing is the after view controller, right? So let's have page view controller before like this. Okay, and then over here, right now it's just returning nil, and then over here we got page view controller after, we will return nil just for now. Okay, now what are we going to do in this case? Oh, by the way, this page view controller I'm sharing with you right now is exactly the same implementation that you can use with your walkthrough screens. Why is it? The walkthrough screens, do you know what I mean by that? The walkthrough screens, the first time you open an app, you see a lot of app that has like the pages, the introduction pages that you can scroll left and right, right? Those things, it uses this thing too. It uses the page view controller too. So let's use that. I hope that you will put in the comment section right now what is the things that you are going to use with this feature, and I can't wait to see what you are sharing with me. Oh my god, this is so fun. Okay, so now we are going to implement the page view controller before view controller. Why is it? We have to return a view controller before that view controller, right? So we have to check if let the index of the controllers at the index of our view controller, right? We check what is, because we got the view controller over here, which is our current view controller, the view controller currently on display, right? So we want to check what is the index of the current view controller inside our controller's array. Now we got the current index. So we want to check if the index is greater than 0. It means that it is not the first one, right? Then we are going to return the controller's subscript index -1. But before that, if it is the first controller, we are not going to return index -1 because there's no before controller for that thing. Know what I mean? So over here, right, let me scroll it like this. Come on. Here we go. Now, look at the page control of this thing, the little dot, 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 right? You see these little dot, dot, dot? So what it means is this image right here is the first page. So when it is the first page, the index is 0. There's no view controller before that thing. There's no view controller before that thing. It's the same thing if we having over here. If the index is greater than 0, it means that it is some pages up until the second page to the last page. It means that there is some page behind that, before that. So we can just return controllers subscript index -1. Right, now, if it is the first page, then we just have to return nil. We already do that because there's no view controller before that. It's the same implementation. Oh, by the way, this is controllers. It's the same implementation over here, right? This thing is just view controller after the current view controller. So here we check if let index is controllers dot index of our view controller, right? And if the index is less than the controllers dot count -1, meaning it is not the last one, it is not the last controller, then we do return controllers subscript index +1. Make sense? Okay. Now, if it is not the last one, if it is now the last one, then we just have to return the controllers. Let's return the controllers dot first, right? So that when we are scrolling to the last one now, right, after, so when we are in the last one, if we scroll next, then it goes back into the first one. So that it doesn't have that little white or blank space, it looks ugly, right? And also over here, let's not return nil, but we want to return controllers dot last. Okay, so the first, the last, so that if we want to, the first index, want the before that, we loop it back to the last one. Okay, awesome. Now we got the data source for ourselves here. We don't actually right now need the delegate, so I'm going to comment this thing out like this. Okay, let's comment this thing out. We don't need it right now. Okay, so next up, when the view first loaded, when this thing first loaded, we are going to call self.turn to page, let's say with the index of 0. We want to turn to the first view controller. It is a method we're going to implement here. Fun. Turn to page with the index of an integer, like this thing, right? So this turn to page, I'm going to walk you through fast a little bit here. So we got the controller is controller subscript index like that, right? And we want to check the direction of the turning that we want to do. So our direction is UI page view controller navigation direction like that, and we count dot forward just as default. And then now we will set the direction. We want to see if it is forward or reverse. So if let the current VC is view controllers dot first, right? If we do got the first, then let the current index is the controllers dot index of our current VC. Okay, and then if the current index is greater than the index here, then we got the direction to be reverse. Now, after that, we're going to call a method that we will do later, but here I'm going to call a method called setViewControllers for the view controllers. So what do we want to set the controllers for this thing? So we want to set the view controllers for an array of one single controller over here. And then the direction is direction animated. Let's make it true. Completion is nil. We don't need that thing. Then we set that thing, right? Now, right here, we have to ungrab that, right? So over here, what we want to do is we want to call a method called configure displaying a view controller for the controller. What does this do? This thing is going to set everything that we need for this view controller, for this controller, specific controller that we want to turn the page to, or we want to call that thing. Now, this thing is going to be used so that we can set the image for that shoe image view controller. It is going to be used for us to set the page controller of the page control, that little dot that we are going to do last in this video. Okay, so here and we do func configure displaying view controller. Is it a UI view controller like this? Okay. Okay, let's build the project, make sure that we have that thing correctly done. Okay, now we want to enumerate through with the index of view controller. Oops, let's do index vc in the controllers, our self.controllers dot enumerated, like that, right? Then inside here, we want to check if the view controller, the thing that we assigned to calling this thing, is indeed this vc, is completely equivalent to that. Then we get the let shoe image vc to be equals to view controller as a, right, we want to cast to see if this view controller is indeed a shoe view image view controller as a shoe image view controller, like that, right? Then we do shoe image vc dot image to be our self.images subscript index. Okay, I know I go a little bit fast here. What we do is we get this view controller, right? And then we cast it as a shoe image view controller, the first thing that we created. And then we set the image of the shoe image view controller to be our images subscript index. Okay, make sense? All right. Now, after we do that, we just have to test it. We just have to test it. How can we test this thing? There's nothing for us to do that yet because this thing is not connected to this whole shoe images detail view controller yet. How can we test it? Well, the way that we can test it is we can just have assign a bunch of dummy images here first. So we can do shoe.images. Okay, let me get some shoes images over here. Okay, so we can do equals shoe.fetch shoes dot first, like that, because we already got the first shoe. Then we do images of the first shoes. Okay, so we got that images. Now, when we go into the storyboard, let's go into the storyboard over here. Okay, let's make this page view controller to be the initial view controller of the whole app, so that when the app is first loaded, we can just use that and test it, right? So is initial view controller, select that for the page view controller. You see there's an arrow over here, run the project. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's run the project. It's still running, I guess. Awesome. Now, over here, it's running. We don't have anything yet. Let me check what is going on. Oh, I think that we haven't called the turn view controller, right? So let's go back into the shoe images, page view controller, and view did load over here, turn to page 0. Oh, we didn't assign the class of the page view controller. I almost forgot that. So page view controller over here, custom class is shoe images page view controller. Let's see if we do got any data source delegate. That's cool. So let's run the project again. Okay. So what we do is we have to set the custom class for this shoe images page view controller because we didn't set it. Now let's see. we got this thing, an image. When we scroll it, there's this ugly thing going on. So let's fix that thing, right? The page view controller over here. Let's make this thing aspect fit. Okay, and this thing over here, let's make that thing select the page view controller. Instead of page curl, we use scroll. Okay, so the scroll here allows us to have just scroll, just like pages like that. If the page curl, it would be like a book page, right, which most of us don't want to use. So here we scroll and it doesn't show up. Why is it? Okay, let me check. So let's debug it together. Okay, so this thing here, we got an image, a show image view controller, right? And this thing, it has a show image view controller. It displays the first image. It does display the first image like this, right? So here's the process. That this is not intentional, by the way. Okay, so show images, table view controller, we got a bunch of images, right? And then when the first get loaded like this, we have the controllers, we append the controllers to the screen, we return the controllers. For the view that load, we turn to the page, right? And then we can turn to page like this. We return the page, we set the direction, we can configure displaying, we set the view controllers, okay? And then when the configure displaying, we enumerate through the view controllers. We got the view controllers, we set that view controller into this show image view controller. We set the image, right? For ourselves, the images. And then inside the data source, we got the data source, we check the data source like that. We return the last. For the controller, before the controller, return this thing if it is not the first. Okay, so if it is greater than 0, index minus 1, that's good. Over here, controllers.count, index plus 1, that's good. Controllers.first, like that. Okay, let's see if we do need a delegate. Okay, so I'm going to go over the main storyboard. Right click into this thing, right? And then we see there's a data source. We already have that. Let's drag this delegate. Yep, the problem does lie in our delegate, because the delegate here, it doesn't know what happened when we scroll left and right, right? When we scroll left and right, it doesn't know to provide the correct information. So what we have to do is we go into the show images view controller, page view controller, show images, page view controller over here, and then we implement our delegate. So extension for our show images page view controller, it is of type conforming to UIPageViewController delegate like this, right? And when this thing happens, we are going to do a method called PageViewController will transition to pending view controller, right? PageViewController will transition to pending view controllers. What we want to do over here is we just called self.configure displaying for our view controllers. So whenever we scroll it like that, this thing will get called. This thing right here will get called, will transition, right? Before it transition, it will transition, it will get called this, we will call this configure display. Then we'll assign the image to our image controller, right? So here we called pending view controllers dot first as a show image view controller. Indeed, we don't really need this thing because it is a generic view controller, but let's just leave it there. Okay, and then the second method we'll do is PageViewController did finish animating previous view controller. Did finish animating previous view controller, transaction completed, those kind of stuff. Then we would see, now what does this mean? This means that if we scroll left and right, but we never finish, drag it all the way up, okay? I know, it's a weird motion right there. It's like I'm throwing something. So what only means is that we are scrolling left and right, right? But sometimes we scroll left and we don't want to move it. We just scroll left and let's stay there, right? So this thing doesn't get finished. The animation doesn't get finished. Then we shouldn't do anything, right? So we count, if this thing is not completed, then we count self.configure displaying for our view controllers, and we'll count previous view controllers first SA shoe image view controller, like that. Now let's run the project and see how it looks like. Okay, let's see how it looks like. Okay. It's still not working. Hold on, I know why. Because inside the view load over here, we did not set the delegate. Set it, run it once again. Let's see how it looks. Okay. Here we go. It's still not working. Let's find out what is the problem. Okay, so here's the problem. The problem is when we first loaded the image, right? When we first loaded this thing, it shows us this view controller. The reason for that is we set it in the first place, right? But when we scroll like this, it does have the image. But this shoe image view controller right here, okay, when you select the shoe image view controller, not page view controller, but this thing, the view load is already gets called. The view is already get loaded because that is the next one. It's already preloaded, right? So over here, we will have to do another one over here. We call it the set. When this thing gets the set, then we're going to call self.image view.image to be our image. Okay, we will recount that, we'll reset that thing like that. Okay, so now let's see how it looks like. And I am pretty sure that this time it works. Okay, I know it's 3 times, right? Okay, it doesn't. Okay, so underscore like this, optional training, because the first time it may not happen yet, right? The first time it gets loaded, it may not have it yet. Now, boom. We see, here we go, very nicely. Okay, our job left, so now we got the page view controller set up. Next up, we test the page view controller. We did that, step 4. Again, step 1 is we download the start project, design the header. Number 2 is we create the page view controller subclass, the images page view controller. Then we test our page view controller, now it works. We know that it works. We just have to provide it some images so that it will work. Now, all we have to do left is to create the table header view subclass so that we can embed that thing into this thing. And then finally, we'll do the page control with these, which is these little ... Okay, so let's create a new class over here. This is really simple. The new class here, I'm going to create a detail, new file, and then a touch class called UIPageViewController, and let's call this thing shoe images header view controller. Shoe images header view controller, like that. Okay, and it is typed. I'm sorry, this is type UI view, not UI view controller. Okay, shoe images header view. It is a type UI view like this. Okay, don't do it as a controller. It is just a view. So delete all these code. Okay. All right, just leave it there. Just leave it there right now. For now. Okay, we'll move it over here. Let's rename this class. we'll rename this class into shoe images header view, the class, the file name. Okay, now let's just leave it there. What we want to do is we want to set this thing inside our tail view. Okay, so let's go over our main storyboard over here. Okay, we'll set this UI view over here. Okay, this UI view, not the container view, the UI view to be our shoe images header view, like that. Okay, the shoe images header view. We don't set the container again, we set the UI view that we put in as the header view of the tail view. Okay, now after that, we goes into the shoe images tail view. We goes into the shoe detail tail view controller, which is the controller for our detail screen. Okay, the controller of our detail screen. Over here, we're going to do this. We're going to have an IB outlet at IB outlet with var for our shoe images header view, which is of type shoe images header view, like this. Okay, all right, we'll connect this thing immediately because we will forget that. I always forget this thing. So right click into here, right click into here, go here, shoe images header view. Let's do that again just in case. Shoe images header view, like this. Okay, and then it's connected. Now here's the secret. The secret is we are going to call a method called prepare for segue. This prepare for segue will allow us to prepare all the images when the embed segue gets segue into the PageViewController. Okay, it's hard to understand. Here we go. Let's talk about it again. This is the container view, right? The container view, it segue into this shoe images PageViewController, and we get a chance to prepare for it because it is an embed segue. It is an segue, so we can prepare for it. When we prepare for it, we can give this shoe images PageViewController the images. Now we win. Okay, so let's go into that. So, by the way, we are going to need the show images PageViewController. Okay, I will copy this thing, go back here, main storyboard, and we're going to select this thing called the segue, the embed segue over here. I know this segue is weird, we don't use that much. So the identifier show images PageViewController. That is the segue we want. Okay. Now inside the shoe detail tail view controller, let's prepare for that. So scroll way down like this. Okay. Way down, we got a mark called navigation, like that. So when we have the navigation over here, let's go on to prepare for segue. And the prepare for segue here, we just do the drill just like we do for every other segue. So we check if the segue dot identifier is the same as storyboard dot show images page VC already we created for you, right? Then we do if let the images page VC PageViewController is indeed the segue dot destination as a shoe images header view. Shoe images PageViewController. If we do got that, then we just have to do images page VC dot images to be our shoe dot images, which is our shoe over here, the shoe over here, right? Where is it? Okay, here we go. So we assign the images of this PageViewController to be the shoe.images. Now, the last one we will do is we run this and see how it looks like. Okay, so let's see. Oh, by the way, let's pause it. Goes into main storyboard again. We have to make this shoe images PageViewController, not the initial view controller. Rather, we move this into this tab bar controller again. Okay, tab bar controller is initial view controller. Run the project again. Okay, let's run it once again. Here we go, here's the project. I'm going to hide this thing, close it away. So let's do this. We have the page view controller. Drag left and right, grab the images. Pretty neat, isn't it? I love it, I love it. Now, let's select this image and make sure that it has the image. Scroll left and right, and we have it. Congratulations, my friend. That is how you do it. The last step, let's do the last thing so it makes perfect, right? The last step is we create the page control widget, which is this little dot over here. Now, it seems simple to do, but it is quite naughty. Why is it? Well, because if we put in a page view controller, right? Now here we go. Let me show you the Xcode over here in the main storyboard. Let me walk you through my thinking process when I create this thing, okay? And I think that thinking process is what helped me the most when I learned from my mentor. Here we go. So here we go. Now, where do we put that page view controller? Page control, what we call it is the page control, right? So we got a page control over here. This is the page control. So this page control right here, do we put it in this image view? The view controller? No, because every time we scroll left and right will be a new one and we'll have to send it. It's weird, right? We shouldn't do that. It's like down below the hierarchy of the view controllers. It doesn't work that way. So should we put the page control in the shoe images page view controller? Yeah, it makes the most sense. Right? It makes the most sense. So we should put it over here. But we cannot put that because it is just a container view. It's just a container view controller. It is not a view controller that has a root view. Right? It does not have a root view over here. That is one very important point I forgot to make for you. So this, and isn't it a nice segue back into this point? So, so this page view controller over here, the page view controller, it's just a container view. It doesn't have a root view. You see this shoe image view controller scene over here, it has a root view over here, right? But this thing is a shoe images page view controller. The page view controller is just a container page view controller. It doesn't have the root view. It's the same for your tab bar controller. The tab bar controller doesn't have a root view. The tab bar controller is just a container view controller, so they can put in a lot of view controllers, an array of view controllers, in fact, right? Or the navigation controller. The navigation controller doesn't have the root view. It just have an array of view controllers that is stacked on top of each other. So where do we put this thing? We cannot put it over here. We cannot put it over here. Now we put it over here, over the header view. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll put this page view controller right on inside the header view like this, right? We'll put it right in here. And you know what? I'm going to make that 0. Like this, okay, 0. And then let's do auto layout for this guy. We do 0 and then like this, and we will also do horizontally in the container. Horizontally in container like this thing. So add the constraint like that, okay? Now, next up, we just have to change the property a little bit. So the tint color, let's change the tint color into light gray color, right? It is light gray color. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the current page, let's change that into dark gray color so that we have the nice color, okay? That's pretty much it. So now all we have to do left is to create an IB outlet inside our shoe image header view. Shoe image header view. So the shoe image header view, it actually should be in our views group over here. So shoe image header view. Let's create an IB outlet. Add IB outlet with var for the page control. Like this. Is it a type UI page control? Like that, right? So now we go back into the main storyboard. We got the page control. We will right click into the show image header view like this, so that we got the page control all over here. Come on, it doesn't allow me to. Okay, right click into the show image header view. We got the page control. Drag the page control over here like that, and we got it good to go. Okay. So now, what do we have to do? This header view over here, let's go back into the storyboard. Maybe it's easier to see. Oh, sorry. Okay, here we go. Now this header view is completely separate from this thing, the page view controller. It is just in this point that this thing is embedded with the container view. But how can we have the connection from this thing, know about this page view controller, turn left and right? How can we do that? Interesting. It is a view. How can we know information about the controller? Now, this is very, very important. It's just one example, but it will going to help you a lot in your future project. Whenever in iOS, right, in Swift, and in many other programming languages, that when you have a view like this, right, and you want to know the information about a view controller, then you do not have the view controller directly inside the view. It can be sometimes dangerous. Okay, it leads to memory leak and those stuff, or those type of memory life cycle. But rather, we should use a more kind of like formal way in iOS, and that is what we call delegate in iOS. Okay, the delegate pattern. So what it means is we are going to set this view to be the delegate of this page view controller. Okay, this thing is going to be the delegate of this thing. So whenever this thing gets turned, whenever this thing gets turned left and right, I guess that I should just do it this, right? I should just do this. Easier, okay? So whenever this page view controller gets turned left and right, it will notify this delegate or any delegate that wants the information. And whenever this thing gets notified, it will just turn this page control left and right, or change the number of pages. Makes sense, right? So here what I mean. Here we go. Let's go into the show images page view controller. Show images page view controller. And inside here, let's create a protocol. Called show images page view controller delegate like this, and it is a class protocol, okay, like that. And then we have two methods that we want anyone who wishes to be our delegate has to implement. So the protocol is simply a blueprint of methods, a blueprint of functions that anyone who can fall into that protocol has to implement. So here we called function set up page controller with the number of pages is an int, like this. And then a function turn page controller to the index of an int, because we know that we want to turn the page control, right? And then when this thing inside the show images page view controller, we're going to have a wake variable called page view controller delegate like this of typed UIPageViewController delegate. Oh, here let's call it page view controller delegate like this. Okay, so it is a variable called page view controller delegate of typed UIPageViewController delegate optional. It is optional because not everyone who contains this thing, or not everyone who knows this thing, wants to be the delegate of that. Okay, so it should be optional. It should be nil by default. So inside the controllers over here, inside the controllers, when we set the controller, we should let our delegate know how many pages are there, so that they can set the pages count, right, for the page control. So self.PageViewController delegate dot set up page controller with the number of pages for the controllers dot count, like this. Let me build the project and make sure it works. Okay. UIPageViewController delegate. Oh, this is shoe images PageViewController delegate. Here we go. Not PageViewController delegate, right? Okay, so here we still do PageViewController dot set up PageViewController with the number of pages is controllers dot count. So we just set up how many pages does this controller have, and we tell our delegate to do something. It's the same that if I am having a conversation on the phone with someone, right, and I want to get a like the dishes done, right? So I cannot like do all at the same time. I would delegate the job of cleaning the dishes to someone else. So I would tell them, hey, can you clean the dishes for me? It's simple as that. We talk to our delegate, okay? Right? So next up, when we turn the page, right? When we configure the display over here, whenever we turn the page, it means that we will have to configure the view controller. We are going to do self.PageViewController delegate dot turn page controller to the index. Okay, so two simple steps. Number one, tell it what is the number of pages. Number two is what is the index we are turning to, so that we know what is the index we are turning to. Okay, so that should be good. Now, what is the last thing? The last thing is we just have to make this header view conform to our delegates over here, right? So let's go into the shoe detail tab view controller. Oops, did I do anything stupid here? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so over here, images, page view controller. Over here we do images, page VC. Again, we are in the shoe detail tab view controller. Inside the prepare for segue, we set the images page VC dot page view controller delegate to be our what is that? Shoe images header view. Okay, shoe images header view, and then inside the shoe images header view, all we have to do left is we are going to have an extension for the shoe images header view conforming to the shoe images page view controller delegate, like this. And yeah, there are two methods we have to implement. So let me copy this thing over here, right? Let me copy this. Right, to implement these two. So number one is this method, set up page view controller with a number of pages. And number two is turn page controller to index. All we have to do here is page control dot number of pages is the number of pages. Okay? And then turn page controller to index. So page control dot current page is the index. Like that. Run the project and let's see how it looks like. Let's see how it works. Okay, so let me check on our steps. Create the table header view, and the final step is create the page controller widget. That should be good. Now click into this. We got our page control. Boom. Here we go. A lot of work, I know. There's a lot of work involved here, but it's just the reason why we do this is that number one, I want to explain every single step for you, and number two is we have to do it in a way that this thing is reusable. So it means that this thing, whenever you want to have this feature of dragging left and right like this, you can move it any way you want. You can use it any way you want, any project you want. You just have to have images, or if you want to have different view controller, in your view controller you want to have buttons, you want to have animation, just do that in the view control, shoe image view controller, right? You get what I mean? All right, so that, my friend, is Awesome. Let's test this below here. The shirt over here. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Now. Okay, do you see that when we turn to the last page, it will goes back into the first page. Pretty darn good. That, my friend, is how you create the page control widget, the Nike retail store Pages View Controller. I hope that you enjoy this training so much, and it is, my friend, your first step to create any kind of beautiful app. It takes that work, it takes that process. You know, when I got first started, all I wanted to do was to create something beautiful, meaningful like this, and I got a lot of trials and errors, a lot of time invested, a lot of courses and videos and blog posts, a lot of books into this, and I have to figure it out on my own. But I wish for you is that you can find someone who helps you do this. If you love me to be that person for you to shortcut your learning journey, because a lot of people ask me to do so. So I create a program called Socialize Your Apps, and it comes to the 2017 version. And in this version, we're going to teach you how to build these kinds of apps, and we just want to show you that, to share that with you. And if you think that it is, if you want to have this kind of training with me, just click the link on this page, below this page, and check out the full program. It is opening right this quick. Now, full disclosure, this is not a program that teaches you some dummy apps that you cannot use it anywhere. This is the program where I share with you my most advanced training techniques and development in iOS, that you can build apps like Instagram, Facebook, and Messages, and those kinds of apps. That it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and commitment and just detailed work like this. So if you are the one who love beautiful design, if you are the one who love to creating these beautiful apps, so let me share with you just a little bit so you have a taste of what we want to build. For example, the Nike retail store app. We'll build the newsfeed. When we have the time, when I got you in the program, I had the time, we're going to dive deeper, right? We'll go into every single process. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time, so we will do it together. We're going to create a newsfeed, and this thing is not now inside our training right now. It is just the local data. In our program, we're going to make that happen with a backend with Firebase. It will download data whenever you want, right? So this is all dynamic data. User can log in, sign up, and then we show the details screen. And then we have a collection view below that show other suggestions, other products that the user might interest in, right? And then if we go into this, we have that thing too, okay? Now when we go into the shopping bag, we see the shopping bag like this. We see a bunch of items that the user adds to the cart. We see the total, the subtotal, the shipping, the tax on those things. We hit the checkout. We see the submit order page so that the user can enter their credit card information. We use Stripe to process our order information so that we submit the order. It goes into our backend. We save the data safely inside our database, and Stripe will process our money, transfer our money into our bank account, send the confirmation emails to our clients, to our customers. That is just one of the 5 apps and many more that we built in Socialize Your App. It is the retail store e-commerce app that many of you asked me to do. So I guess that I will put this in the 2017 version of Socialize Your App. Use Stripe. A free software, a free service, incredible. It's the world's best, I have to say. I personally use that in our Developers Academy. It's amazing. And another app we built in Socialize Your App, maybe you're interested in, is you want to build social network features like Messenger, like sharing posts and video, like user authentication. So here we can create a new account or log into existing account. We have profile picture, email, full name, username, password, and those things. Or you can log in with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, GitHub, those kind of social login, right? And then when share new photo, share new video, you'll share new things in the newsfeed, and we'll download those things into our newsfeed. It works just like Instagram. And yes, we will clone Instagram in Socialize Your Apps. That is my promise to you. We will use our time together. In very short 5 weeks, we'll spend our time together, clone the world's best apps so we can learn, we can build our skills to become a best developer, right? So here we go. The next thing we do is we can like and comment and share our posts. We can see all of the details here. And by the way, these things we all use Firebase, which is a backend as a service software offered by Google. It is free and incredibly inexpensive for you to start with. The reason we want to use this is that we don't have to make you to learn or hire a team or hire another person as a backend developer. You don't have to waste thousands, and by thousands I mean like thousands of dollars, to create your own backend, to maintain your own backend, to do all of those server stuff. You can do that with Firebase, with PaaS service, with Heroku, with all of those services like Amazon. We use Firebase, one of the best right now in the world. That, my friend, is Socialize Your Apps program. We'll teach you how to build those kinds of apps. So if you are interested in that, just check it out in the link right below this video. Click that button, see the full program detail, and see how I can help you to socialize your apps.